Hi guys, and welcome to monthly Lenormand reading. I'm just going to tell you quickly a little bit about Lenormand, just a minute. So Lenormand refers to two types of oracle decks, the Grand Jeu and Petit Jeu. The Grand Jeu, which is French for the big game, is based on a full deck of playing cards. So each card has a large variety of symbols, such as sometimes constellation, flowers, and Trojan War. But sometimes, like maybe you're familiar with my cards, where you have the lady holding a letter, where you have the rider, snake, and so on and so forth. The Petit Jeu Lenormand, French for the little game, is a deck of 36 cards. So cards images here are simple. As I said, a clover, a bear, a key, etc. Right? This is a simplicity in this deck that really leads to cards not being read based on the picture nor the symbol, where in tarot every line actually has a meaning, and depending on combination, kind of like they end up having different meanings. Instead here, the meanings tied to the cards are fairly literal, such as luck for the clover and success for the key. Unlike the philosophical meanings, where you have the keys sort of like entry to the gateway to the spirituality, right? In this respect, Petit Jeu cards remind me of pictorial language, almost like Egyptian hieroglyphs, right? But keep in mind that both the Grand Jeu and Petit Jeu are like in that they use card combinations to expand on the meanings on the individual cards. So you see, each card has a meaning, but 1 + 1 doesn't make 2. 1 + 1 makes it like 5, and 1 + 1 + 1 makes it 15, and so on and so forth. When you put all 36 cards on the table, it is sort of like giving almost like overview on how the situation can be seen, and it can actually really give you different aspects and what is like behind you, what is aside from you, etc, etc. 36 cards, as I told you, has like so many different possibilities and meanings, and it really requires a skilled reader to do that. So anyway, I think we are going to attempt to do exactly that. So why don't you get ready, sit down, take your popcorn, and let's get into your reading. Love you. Hi Gemini, so let's check your month. Safi was helping and maybe a little bit too much. Looks like she's perfectionist when it comes to Lenormand. So I'm using sort of like Tarot Lenormand, which kind of didn't work for Tarot, and I'm just trying to see how this really complements the whole thing. You got 4 of Pentacles, and she's obviously looking at this cornucopia, kind of like odd bounties that she has, but you know, sometimes goodies can make us happy, sometimes they can't, and that's what they say. You cannot take money with you to the grave, and you can take memories, etc, etc. So let's see what the month brings for you. So this is a general reading, and it might resonate for you, might not, because this is kind of like more particular than tarot, which kind of like works with energy. This is more or less working with circumstances. So there are like 2 main significators in tarot: the gentleman and the lady. They're not gender specific for this reading, for the general reading. They become specific when I do individual readings. So let's see what you guys have. Overall, it's kind of like really interesting energy. Like there is like some sense of longing. Some of you really want to get somebody from the past, right? I'm looking here, the heart over here, especially for those of you who are like really asking about love, is in the house of the man. Almost looks like that one of the partners, well, just because it's a man, I told you like gender is really not that applicable in the general reading. It looks to me that there are like certain things that are completely out of balance, and that one party is crazy in love. And it's kind of interesting because the lady is here and this is in the house of the man, right? But there was like I would say that a few of you maybe have a baby father or baby mother around, and they were fooling around with other people, and there was and it continues to be discussion about how to move forward. I think some of you are feeling really kind of like bummed over the situation and are having a really difficulty dealing with it and trying to kind of like figure out in which direction to take and what path to take, really. But looks like that so far you couldn't unlock any solution, because solutions are really self-evident, that you really want transparency, that you really want to kind of like figure out what is going on, and like kind of like really feels like you're a little in a dark room. And it could even be a little bit of gaslighting over here, that maybe you're dating a narcissist, or you're dating somebody who is saying one thing and doing another. Gemini, you kind of like are famous for that. I don't know if you realize that, but like this is why you're kind of like being represented with two heads and with twins, because sometimes you can hold equal opinions that are opposing, and to you maybe that makes sense, but to many of us it doesn't. So I think if you were the one who asked for clarification from the others, try to go extra mile to kind of clarify that, and try to do you know, your best to kind of like see why to them that appears kind of like as not fitting or opposing, right? Because I see here that in one storyline, so I can give you just different storylines that I see here, right? In one storyline over here, I see one partner not feeling great, trying to resolve their own certain inner kind of like debates and dilemmas. How do we move forward? There is like certain healing that has to take place. So whether this is a person or it was something that happened in the past, like a third party, clearly they kind of like put a wrench in the engine, and maybe you kind of like moved forward with this person, but this hasn't been forgotten and most likely not forgiven. And I am not necessarily a person who says like forgive and forget, because sometimes it feels like a push, but I can tell you how you get there. You get there only, and there is like only one way to get there. If there is another way, let me know, because I would like to know that. But I found one way, and when couples run into a hurdle, the way over this mountain, the hurdle is you have to lay all the cards on the table. You have to be fully transparent. And, honey, I'm going to pick up the bread, and the honey doesn't come back 10 minutes later. Where are you? Well, not to go back and kind of like snap back or be sarcastic or silent treatment, but hey, oh, I'm sorry, kind of like I ran into a so-and-so, we are sitting here, right? And if the partner tells you this kind of bothers me when kind of like this happens, I don't want to be controlling, but I just kind of like need to find sort of like my stability after the situation. So kind of like be more sensitive about that, right? So transparency, it's hard. Especially it's hard on, well, it's hard on both partners, to be honest, because one partner feels, oh gosh, I'm making him or her now really sort of like weirdly live their life, and the other partner goes, well, I'm really sorry about it, why do I have to do that, and can't you trust me? Well, the truth is, like, the fabric got torn apart, and it takes thread by thread by thread by thread by thread by thread by thread to put it together, and it takes will from both partners to kind of like reintegrate. If you know, I don't know if you ever wore nylons, or if you saw women, like there's like tiny little kind of like cut can put the whole thing apart. So it is worth it, guys. If there is like somebody with whom you had shared really happy moments, which looks like some of you like fully in love, some of you have children over here, and really hope for quite a bit. I see this bouquet and the anchor over here, which kind of like tells me that kind of there was like sort of like moving in a direction to really be hopeful about this person and to shack up with this person. And that's, to some of you, is coming as a shock about certain things that happen, and maybe possibly moving forward. And I think for some of you, this could be a person with whom is back and forth, actually quite a few times, and maybe some of you have been in counseling already with this, but there are like still lots of unknowns. And I really don't like my two favorite and their favorite villains, let's say, or two the most unfavorite cards are the fox and the snake. You have them together just like twins, and it just so happened that this is like in the house of the fish, and this is in the house of anchor. So some of you have this kind of like wall, you cannot move past certain issues. The book talks about unknown issues. There's still something that you need to be educated, that you need to find out. Maybe there is like this need to kind of like drop down like certain limitations, right, to move forward. The other story that I see here is really different one, and it's, I would say, a really happy one, because look, this other person here did have their own hurdles in their own life, and it could be that this person either, you know, got a child delivered, or there were promotion at work, and it's just like feeling on top of the world, feeling like in the zone, like having sort of like proper cards in their fingers. But they also are playing with the destiny, I have to say, because look, the snake is also in their trajectory as well. So I think even for this person, like maybe it's in the back of their mind, because it looks like they're looking forward and they're like really not realizing that there were certain things, maybe seeds planted or since like seeds dropped and not clean from the past, that they're still going to the future. It's not going to have immediate impact, I do have to tell you, right? But check this out. The snake and that person are basically meeting in the bear, which is next to the coffin. So this in fact could be the ex. This in fact could be somebody who still didn't let go, still kind of like has maybe amount of venom in there that kind of like stayed hidden, but that venom like is kind of like placed somewhere, and it maybe it's not placed to you, it's maybe placed to somebody else who is meaningful to you, or somebody might be coming in your way who is going to have this effect. Be very careful, because some of you will feel very attracted to this kind of a person. Now look at it, the letter, the sun, the ring, the tree, the stars. Some of you are going to be real Gemini. Communication, 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 dating, like, and it's going to kind of be really interesting, because it's going to be so hustle and bustle, and this is kind of like falling in the house of health and ancestry. You guys are ruled by Mercury, so literally you are under Mercury all the time, never mind Mercury retrogrades. Like communication for you always goes forward, backward, it goes in all directions. And like this month there is like all about communication over here, about everything, about home, about your children, about your family, about your friends, about your work. Oh my gosh, who are you committed to, who you're not committed to. It's going to be about work assignments, new work possibilities, how to move forward. You're going to start reaching a complete clarity by the end of the month, and realizing who are the people you can rely upon, except one person who might be maybe leeching on your finances, who might kind of like have this like still distant longing for you and create some issues for you. This doesn't have to necessarily be your love life. This could be your work life, in which case be very careful, because it might be some kind of gossip presented about you in your workplace, and you will really have to distance yourself from it. Or maybe someone's will try to engage you in some kind of like social atmosphere. It's going to be something where people gather. It's not going to be just like one-on-one kind of situation. And in that kind of situation, maybe you're going to be placed in a position where you might end up being overly protective, but you might be interpreted as overly reactive. So be very careful about that, because here is the coffin is in the house of the heart, but in a sense this might not be necessarily the bad thing, because even though it looks like something is ending, maybe some of you were like still having a past lingering over and moving it forward, and it was the part of like that knit life that you have, because you have here Four of Pentacles, which does talk about the walls, which talks about inability to let people in, which talks about, okay, I'm here with my toys, leave me alone, kind of a thing, right? Yeah, you have maybe built the life that works, but you have also closed yourself from the ability to reach kind of like much higher levels and abilities. So I think when you got a coffin here, it means that maybe you're going to come to realization that certain things either need to end or they ended, that you were just like holding them on for no reason. Sometimes we think about someone for months and years to come. They don't even think about us anymore, but we are holding that burden and that energy inside of us. So this almost tells me it's going to be the end of one phase and kind of like moving to the another, right? And kind of like realizing and kind of like turning around to people who really are around us. But I do have to say, for all of you, it's going to be the month of trying to clear things out, to try to get clarification. I mean, some of you still kind of like have this barrier, the others are going to just like have it clear, open thing. So I just like want to say that for both of you, the entire kind of like message over here is to overcome the obstacle, and the obstacle is you. So you have to fight your own things that are holding you back, whatever that is: procrastination, insecurity, feeling you don't deserve love. This is simply the goal this month. So Gemini, again, this is a general reading. To get your own, contact me via cattarot.ca, and in the meantime, check me out on the Facebook and Instagram. Love you guys. All the best.